Ladies and gentlemen, order in the court. Today's proceedings finds the people versus Gene Takovic.
Legal troubles got you down? Bosses refusing the payout? Hit and run leave you stunned? Drug lords? In your future? Maybe not, because he'll get your case dismissed. He'll get you the defense you deserve, but only if you say the words.
Oh no, I need legal representation. Whatever shall I do? What do I say? Oh, wait, I know.
Better call
Better
Saul.
call Saul. So, without further ado, let's begin judging Saul. I don't know if that worked or not. Court is now in session.
You will atone.
All right, Dragon. Yes, the reason why I threw in the people versus Gene Takovic, Dragon, is straight up. I think Gene is doomed, and I think
it's an episode late, but you know.
And I think Carol Burnett is going to be the one to do it, and I am so scared. I am so scared of Carol Burnett. I have never been more scared of Carol Burnett and her cat videos, Dragon.
Not just her cat videos, her cat on Roomba videos.
Oh my god. Carol Burnett is, honest to God, like the fucking neo-Nazi of Better Call Saul.
I wouldn't take that.
I know it's a weird comparison, but what I mean is like the neo-Nazis like came in like right at the last minute, like, hey, we're the bad guys now. And it's like in Better Call Saul, Dragon, it's so appropriate. I'm literally like geeking out about it because think about it, this whole show has been built upon the mundane confrontations, right? So what could be more mundane but epic than a cross-generational battle of comedy icons? I love it. I'm hyped.
Okay.
All right, but of course there's a lot more to get to than just the Carol Burnett stuff. But Dragon, overall, what did you think of the episode?
Okay, this is a very, very important episode. This is an episode that kind of...
I laughed because I knew who Walt and Jesse were. No, I'm just kidding.
Anyway. Yeah, so this is obviously a very important episode. It's been very much kind of like, I think, basically the large majority of the hype ever since the get-go for Better Call Saul was essentially for this episode. People had to wait 6 seasons for it, but I think it was worth the wait. And it was well used, and it wasn't just a gimmick. It was something that kind of they basically kind of took what we finally got with our Breaking Bad. We were in Breaking Bad. I myself had called like. We didn't go as in depth with it as I could have been, but they did something a little better with it. They kind of weaved it into kind of something narratively that we're saying about the character. Where I was just thinking, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we just kind of crammed all the Breaking Bad kind of the cuts between episodes that we didn't see Saul Goodman do, and kind of fill in the gaps like for the entirety of Breaking Bad in one episode. Which again would have, I mean, they could have done that, but that would have been purely the episode without like it fitting into the main story. So I think they made the right call. What they did was great, and we basically took the shorthand is we took the El Camino approach with it, where we play in that old sandbox, but with a purpose, and we give it kind of a haunting kind of quality that definitely says something about the story we're telling at hand. And I really liked how we were shifting, much like the VHS tape is kind of shifting. So that was rather clever. So that's the episode as a whole. I mean, to call your episode Breaking Bad, that's a big deal. And it could have gone really like gimmicky and like, hey, it's Breaking Bad because we brought him back, right? Breaking Bad. We're always like, well, no, this is about
Walter White is so cool. He makes the blue meth and he shoots people.
Okay.
That's like the red letter media approach.
No, I get it. I think maybe we're a little more heavy on it, but yeah. I think someone's eating a few too many pizza rolls, but you know, that's where we're at. Regardless, but yeah, seriously, I love that, in terms of the context of the episode Breaking Bad, it's more along the lines of the mission statement of Breaking Bad, which is, again, it's about the pursuit of kind of something greater than a mundane existence, and basically, so again, it's like the episode's literally about Breaking Bad before it's just about like fan service of Breaking Bad, which was good. So I think the Schnauzer did a great job. But speaking of which...
Hold on one sec. I just want to add something to that, just as a kind of like...
Is it another red letter media joke?
No, it's not a Red Letter Media joke. Yeah, Dragon, I agree with you, and I think really the strength of the episode, as far as calling it Breaking Bad goes, is, of course we do have this little flashback structure. Which, by the way, I'm not convinced that we're not done with the Breaking Bad timeline. I actually have a feeling that we're going to get a little bit more of it. I have a theory of how that's going to wind its way in. Basically, I think that what we're going for with this whole Breaking Bad flashback stuff is it's essentially Saul Goodman's Bad Choice Road. And this, what we're seeing unfold in, in the Gene timeline is Gene breaking bad, essentially. So I find that there's a lot of layers to this episode. There's a lot of really deep character stuff that I'm excited to kind of like dive into and marinate on, because outside of the whole, like, I clapped because Mike walked in and he was cool. It's there is a little bit of that, but every time there is fan service, it's for a purpose, and it's to accent what is going on in the Gene timeline. There's one transition in particular here that just freaking took my breath away. We'll get to it when we.
I know it's pretty spectacular.
Yeah,
transition.
Yeah. But
it's great.
All right, so Dragon, yes, the Schnauz Man, hype him up.
So this episode, basically, we're in a very unique position here, where our last 3 episodes, which again, just to remind you folks, traditionally, we only work with 10 episodes, but being our last season, and to literally meet the same number of episodes Breaking Bad had, with 63, we have 13, and those last 3, as monolithic as they are, each of them, this is the start of that last trio that we have. They seem to be kind of saying something really powerful and really significant about the show as a whole, with all the finality. And to do so, each episode is both written and directed by a huge player, a huge voice, essentially, of the show creatively. So we have basically writer-director extraordinaire Tom Schnauz, the Schnauzer. Little old Schnauzy. The little prince himself, to quote Jonathan Banks. It's the little prince. I gotta tell you, man.
Now I'm just picturing Jonathan Banks in the sunglasses walking in, like, well, look who it is directing his last episode.
Now, I think that's the thing that because of the special relationship that they have, that's why Jonathan Banks is in this episode the way he is. That is absolutely why. I mean, with the trimmings and everything of why he walks in the way he does.
Right.
But seriously, though, Tom Schnauz is very much, he's one of the writers that I think, debatably, more than the creator himself, almost understood the Jimmy McGill character, really made it sing, brought the flavor to it. And again, it's appropriate that he kind of says, gets almost like a last word on it before we have the actual last word. And the finality really did hit me when I kind of realized that, oh no, this is the last time we're ever going to have Tom Schnauz do an episode.
Yeah, but then again, it's going to be like next week is going to be the same thing.
I know, that's the thing. We're going to have that with our 3 players.
I mean, last week it was the last time Michelle McLaren did an episode, and she's big too. She's just as big as what?
Well, I mean, yes, but I mean, she did not direct regularly. But the fact is, though,
I'm saying she's like one of the big guest stars, though. I mean, her name is on Breaking Bad.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. The fact that, again, we had a big voice of Breaking Bad who came back, so there's finality there in that capacity. Yes, right. Regardless. So Tom Schnauz, just to give you a sample of all the great episodes that these are the episodes that Tom Schnauz both wrote and directed, just to give you a small sampling. Plan and Execution, the big episode in which we killed Howard Hamlin, that was him. With the candle and everything. That's Schnauzy. Bad Choice Road, again, the lead up to that. And some of my favorites, with the usual episode kind of 7-9 pattern of that excellence in Better Call Saul. Expenses, one of my all-time favorite episodes. And Pimento, a Big Mike episode. And, of course, the Big Chuck, the Big Chuck scene is in Pimento.
All right, cool.
Yeah, okay.
And this is written and directed by him, correct?
Yep, written and that's what I'm saying. Schnauz wrote and directed all those episodes I just mentioned, including this one.
Okay. All right, so I guess without further ado, Dragon, let's get into the episode proper.
All right. So again, right off the bat, again, it's our approach here. Very interesting how we are intersecting our 2 timelines. So we basically give purpose to the Breaking Bad link up.
I think that was the perfect way to do it, honestly. I think that's so much more fulfilling than just doing a like what you were talking about, like an episode of Breaking Bad that's essentially like, okay, let's tie up all the loose ends.
And essentially, what we've done here is everyone is going into this episode, especially when we start this episode with the big lead up to the Lalo scene, the Lalo introduction of the big. And I love the thing about it, Steve. We just keep building up like it's the day he meets Walter White to it's the night of, and right in the thick of it, and right at the start of it, and the anticipation and the hype for this episode, especially once the title was revealed, everyone is like on the edge of their seats waiting for Walter White to show up. So we have this opening, and then we go away from it. So there's the
and I
fact
love
that
how
we're
also we have we have Walter White and Jesse in the ski mask, so it's like we don't have to show their faces.
That's what I'm saying. So I love the fact that again we're taking kind of our El Camino stuff where it's very limited in terms of like literally like El Camino, we have two scenes really. Ultimate at the end of the day, we ultimately have two scenes. If you want to be a stickler, three, but let's just say two. And again, the fact that we weave and build the anticipation and drop them right when they need to be in the episode. So the fact that we're in Saul Goodman's POV and basically, so it's literally like, hey, this is Better Call Saul's foray right smack dab into Breaking Bad, where like it's like this is like post the Lalo situation that we the audience have now been caught up to and now know something extra.
We're still kind of reeling from it. Like we still like I feel like the plan was kind of to give the audience the same sort of PTSD about that situation that Jimmy himself must be going through.
Exactly. And something really fun too is what's really fun about us, I don't know if this dawned on you or not, the one place we've never seen Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad, he is in the RV.
Yes.
Which absolutely. It makes it's like it could have had a V8 moment. You realize like, well, yeah, they had to get him from point A to point B. So they put him in the RV. So
they
that's like
something. Throw him in the back of the Aztec.
And assumedly, Saul Goodman might have things to say about the RV that we've never talked about.
All right, and like I said, I do think that we have not quite seen the last of the Breaking Bad timeline. We'll get there with Spec, but okay. So one thing to know is that he says, "Oh God, not the desert, anywhere but the desert."
I love that. That. It's like that's a meta line if I ever heard one. Like, no, not the desert. All the bad stuff happens in the desert. Don't take me there. Okay, so then we have the tape. Now I notice,
kind of like Oakland.
Sure, like Oakland.
Don't go to Oakland, Riley. Get off now.
But anyway, obscure Inside Out references aside, if you don't mind.
Sorry.
So the VHS tape plays.
Anyone who lives in the Bay Area knows.
All right, this is when we're going to get for a rare time. We had never really discussed this during the show, but now it's become very relevant. The tape.
Yeah, so it's just straight up like kind of like on the blue screen, and then kind of like trying to get back to the, to the Better Call Saul, like the actual footage, but failing.
I did snuff something out in the footage, though.
Okay.
When you pause it, and I could be wrong here, but when you pause it, there are two very brief glimpses of footage that you do see. You see what looks to be Gene's recliner with like the drink, like as he's like kind of rocking, up and down as if you were getting up or something. So presumably we're saying like, okay, Gene's getting up to face his fate at the end of the episode, like a little tease. And I believe we saw like, kind of the intersection of like that we saw, I believe, Gene and or Francesca drive through. So a little bit of like, again, like little tiny teases of the episode or perhaps stuff we have not seen yet.
Also on a kind of more meta level, I'm kind of getting the feeling maybe what it represents is like the tape is trying to get back to the glory days of Saul Goodman, but it can't quite do it.
Yeah. Love it. Okay, so the episode starts, and we're in black and white, which is like, oh, look at them. They're keeping us waiting, and they're presenting stuff here. And we have
that was honestly a little frustrating, Dragon. I am not going to lie.
I mean, frustrating, but
white.
Frustrating, but you have to appreciate it, though, as it was unfolding. We're like,
well, it's just like, once again, it's like, Dragon, I feel like Rian Johnson didn't direct an episode, but I feel like he's just, like, in the writer's room just going, like, tee-hee-hee, subvert their expectations this way.
No. I'll tell you what it actually is, okay?
Oh, God.
Rian Johnson, he went all 60s on him. What he did.
Oh, my God.
I'm talking like 60s era Get Smart. What he's done is he has built a tiny, teensy-weensy little camera, and he's made a small, teensy-weensy mechanical fly.
Oh, my God.
That is in the writer's room and is influencing and watching
just
the writers.
ideas.
Exactly, and like he's landing like the little fly in the writer's room. They have a board of cards,
Oh
much
my
like the little
god.
post-it note thing that Jimmy and Kim had. So basically, the little fly is landing on the ideas and the cards in a sequential order that is dawning on Vince Gilligan and Tom Schnauz while he is eating his snack food of choice.
Of course. Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. All right. But big thing with the black and white, of course, we see a plunger, which is not very glorious, but you know who is glorious, Dragon?
Francesca.
Francesca. And you know
Yeah.
what else is glorious?
Jackie Chan Adventures.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
Oh
you
my
had
god.
to know. I had thoughts
I was
about
kind of
that.
losing my mind at that, Dragon. I really was.
Now there is
Like,
a
when
thing.
did you ever expect a Jackie Chan Adventures cameo in the Breaking Bad?
I mean, you got to admit. So there are three things. There are three movies three things now in the Albuquerque verse that just really stand out in terms of the media that we have chosen. Think about it:
Ratatouille, right?
Ratatouille and
Uh-huh.
Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, and
Yes,
now
yes.
Jackie Chan Adventures. Now these are three things I have seen, all of which. Now, obviously, I'm thrilled about the Pixar, and I see the correlation with the cook thing.
Of course, of course.
Anyone can cook, obviously.
Yes, yes.
Then you have Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, in which you have a dying man, contemplating his legacy and the passing it on, the passing the torch of such. And oddly, two copies though. And Jackie Chan Adventures, which I will miss. So I remind you, how into Jackie Chan Adventures did you ever?
I wasn't like a watch every single episode type of kid, but I actively, I actively watched it when it was on. Like I was a pretty big fan.
I really loved it as a kid. I gotta be honest, that was great. So I was.
I mean, I'm sure you know. I'm sure you can recall a lot more of it than I can, because, like I said, it wasn't like I was going out of my way to watch every episode. But if I saw it on, I was like, all right, Jackie Chan Adventures, let's go.
I got to admit though, there was one. I'm just baffled. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm amazed by it. But there is one. There's one hanging shad that does kind of eat away at me about it. Jackie Chan Adventures went off the air in 2005, and Breaking Bad takes place, well, at least post Breaking Bad.
Syndication.
I know, that's the thing, but do you really? So if it ended in 2005, and
Freeform.
Breaking Bad ends in, let's see, it's 7, 8, 9. It either ends in 2009 or 2010, roughly.
ABC Family, something like that.
I'm not knocking it. I'm just questioning it. I'm just saying
it has.
I'm just saying, look, well, no, my point, I'm not complaining about it. Yeah, surely it's a rerun. My question is, of all the shows, I mean, of all like the pulls they could have made, like they have to pick that show, man. That's what baffles me. Like, has Tom Schnauz watched Jackie Chan Adventures? Is that what happened there? That's what I want to know.
You know, you want me to go on like some sort of like to pull some sort of meaning from it?
I mean, Tiki, are you even qualified to do so?
No. So Jackie Chan Adventures. So the whole idea of it, maybe what I'm thinking is that the Jackie Chan that we see in Jackie Chan Adventures is obviously not the real Jackie Chan, but it's very much based on Jackie Chan. So what I'm saying, Dragon, is maybe that having Jackie Chan Adventures, like having that specifically, like kind of like this celebrity-driven cartoon, maybe that's some sort of commentary on the different identities of Saul Goodman. It's a stretch. I know.
Yeah,
it's a stretch.
Kind of breaks the elastic, but we're going to press on.
Well, I told you I wasn't qualified, so
I know that's the thing. It's All right. So anyway, point being, we get to see that Francesca. We check in with her after quite a ride, which is the last time we saw her in kind of the end days, the end of days of the Albuquerque verse. So.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea here is that she's like a landlord. She probably took her money or what she had of it, or she's just gotten that thing. We don't know how much of the money the government's gotten from Francesca. But the point being, whatever cash she had, she spun this into a landlord job, or she runs an apartment, like an apartment complex of some kind, I guess. She's the super, and she's fixing the sink of these two, these two tenants who are watching Jackie Chan Adventures.
And they're absolutely not doing drugs in the apartment at all, Dragon.
No, God, no. Anyway, so she has a place to be at 301 very specifically, and she drives around very paranoid, trying to lose what she thinks is a tail. It was not a tail, but still could be followed. Goes to a phone
Also,
booth.
Bill Oakley and Associates, William Oakley and Associates.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So let's see. So anyway, so Jean, she arrives at a phone booth, and she answers a phone call, and it's Jean on the other end of the phone calling at a very specific time. My assumption here is that Saul Goodman, in anticipation for when this day would happen, he had, like, I guess before he made the call, he had stashed like cash so he can do some check-ins to basically feasibly wonder if basically check in on if people were still going after
Oh,
him,
that's
and or
crazy.
that's the thing. It was either just to kind of take the temperature of like if law enforcement was still looking for him, or potentially ever returning back to Albuquerque. It's probably the former. It's probably just in general to know if
Uh-huh.
like he's probably never heading back. He's probably wondering though, like, is the heat off me? Can I maybe like lose the look I'm working with right now, like with the mustache and everything? I don't know. So that's the idea. So the idea, he's kind of had these check-ins on kind of like, I don't know how weekly a basis, or I don't know how much cash he has stored around. But she's told to meet at a certain place, and she'll call him and basically give him the lowdown in exchange for cash that he has hidden around the place in Albuquerque. So what's the check-in, Tiki? What's the status report from good old HT?
I mean, it's not great. She's still getting followed. She's having her mail opened. Let's see. We get follow-ups about let's see, what do we get follow-ups on?
All right, so Skylar White, she cut a deal, and
Yes.
this is actually a really big detail that we do have here. And this really does bring things back to our finale, what we can possibly speculate on and expect. Where so ever since Skylar White got her deal that Walt kind of helped her get out of Dodge with the whole giving the location of the bodies and everything. So Skylar White cut a deal so she'll be able to go back to normal life, at least relatively normal life. Jesse Pinkman's car was found at the border, and of course we know things ended well for him. That means Saul Goodman is the fall guy. So that means the full extent of the law. They need someone to put into prison for all of Heisenberg's crimes. So that means they're trying to put all of it on Saul Goodman, who of course has that long history with the legal system. So very much everyone is, the point being, Saul Goodman is really hot right now. He's in deep trouble as Saul Goodman. So the heat has not died down at all on him.
Uh-huh.
So that's important. That's probably gonna be important for our finale in terms of law enforcement is looking for that guy.
Also very important is so he's checking in on some of the old people on his Rolodex. We get a QB reference.
We
QB
do.
reference.
I gotta be honest, Tiki. Unless he shows up in one of those Breaking Bad
I'm worried
flashback
that
things,
that's all we're gonna get.
that's the thing, Tiki. It just feels. I'll tell you, it feels twofold. I'll tell you why. Best case scenario, if we do indeed, which I gotta be honest, I'm not so sure we're gonna get it. But if we do get more, kind of stuff happening in between episodes of Breaking Bad, like we do with this episode, that would be the place to bring in QB. But I got a feeling that Bill Burr was probably saying, "Hey, Bill, you want to come in for the show? I know you had that death in the family, but now time has passed. We're on to the last season. We'd love to have this." Is Vince Gilligan talking, by the way. We'd love to have you come back down. And Bill Burr's probably saying, "I mean, yeah, guys, but the pandemic's still happening. I'm not going to go out there. What am I, crazy? I'm not going to risk getting sick." And
Right, yeah.
Odenkirk's almost killing over on the set. I'm not coming in during all that. So I'm getting the sense Bill Burr is probably not going to be in the season, but at least we mentioned him. But I'm bummed out that he's like, if he shows up, we'll have gotten everything we ever wanted if he shows up. So point being, QB. Now she says she has no idea, so we haven't written QB. The point being, QB is just amorphous right now.
Which, I mean, I don't know. That could be a good indicator that he might show up because we don't actually know what's up with him.
I would like to think so. Let's
what
see.
If he somehow showed up to help Jean out with his situation?
Well, that's the thing. She had no idea, and I mean, Bill Burr. I don't know how we see by Mando. I don't think he wants to put a wig on anymore, so it could be like a modern day thing. I don't know. Let's see. We solved the mystery of Huel, because did you hear when Breaking Bad ended? Everyone was all speculatory, making the running gag of like, "Hey, Hank and Gomi went off the books to to arrest Heisenberg, and in doing so, they left Huel under a false kind of like house arrest sort of thing, or like like a safe house thing."
Yeah.
And he basically stayed there forever and ever and ever, what was going to happen. So it's kind of a meta thing they referenced here, like, no, Huel went back to New Orleans.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. Let's see, and then in general, like Ira and Danny. Now, again, they still haven't said it, but I'd like to think Danny was Daniel Wormel, like you speculated years back.
Right.
I don't know, because remember he did loop Wormel in on like a job once, so it makes sense that maybe Danny is Daniel Wormel. Who knows? Let's see. So again, the feds are still after Saul Goodman. They're tapping Francesca's phones and her mail, which we've already established.
The laser tag. They got the laser tag.
Yes, so this is big. So it seems that they got all of his money laundering businesses, like all of them. So they got all the nails. Apparently, they had multiple nail salons to kind of funnel his ill-gotten gain. I remember.
I love that he had multiple ones. It just goes to show, like, it was on a deeper level than even we knew about.
Well, no, it's not just that, Teague. Is that we saw how much money Walter White was bringing in. So all that money, like a quarter of that money went to Saul Goodman.
Right, exactly.
So all of that had to go somewhere. So a lot of nail salons and obviously the laser tag place. Albeit, though, the laser tag place was before Walter White showed up, so who knows? Point being, yes, so even the laser tag place, which is kind of a shame we didn't. Who knows? That's another place we could possibly go. It's like the last little link in the chain if we did go there. It's Cuba and the laser tag place, the only two things. But yeah, so point being, they're also the Tigerfish Corporation, which was kind of like the Ice Station Zebra thing that he and Kim Wexler kind of alluded to, like their fake corporation. So assumingly, it was kind of a similar idea. He did like a little. Kind of like it's like a Cayman account sort of thing, like kind of like a bank account. Anyway, so Francesca had to give that to the feds, which implies to me maybe all of her, if not most of her money, is gone too. So yeah, then he mentions Bill Oakley. Bill Oakley is now a defense attorney, who ideally I'd like to think got inspired by Saul Goodman. That's why he became a defense attorney. Like he was going after, man, Saul Goodman is hot right now. He's everyone knows Saul Goodman. I want to be like the good guy Saul Goodman that people are going to go to.
Yeah, perhaps.
I'm going to buy all his bench space.
Right.
Now, Tiki,
right.
You know what? Tiki, it's been a while since we've seen Bill Oakley, and I got to be honest, I miss him. I miss him. And you know what I want to do? I want to call my lawyer, a new lawyer. I want to call a lawyer for the people, a lawyer.
I mean, the number was right up there on the bench.
Let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. Let's get crazy. Let's get nuts. All right. 505.
Okay.
247.
Okay.
2464.
Oh shit.
What?
It's just a. Do you want me to try it again?
Yes, try it again. How is this possible?
Oh my god.
No, I'm sorry. You're right. Keep going. Try it again. Try it again. How is...
Okay, let me check the number. It's 505-247-2464, right?
Yeah, that's the number. Yes.
Dragon, I don't know what to tell you.
All right. Okay, well, hold on. Let me try it. Okay, just don't say anything. Just let me try it. Okay.
Okay.
Bear with me. I swear to God. Well, I called that. The night up, I called that number, and it was Bill Oakley. It was his whole
I believe
entry.
you. I believe you.
How one night really? There is only man.
All right. Let's not let it ruin the podcast. Let's just keep going.
Sorry, folks. It was supposed to be a cute. We're gonna move on. It would have been just imagine it went well. Okay. Okay. Point
At least
being,
it wasn't our fault this time. I mean, God, that's just crappy web management on AMC's part. Honestly, like keep that shit up, bro.
Yeah, I mean they still have like Saul Good, the Jimmy McGill's phone message, but not Oakley.
Dragon, what if so many people are just calling Bill Oakley that it just like totally like overwhelmed the phone line?
That'd be really cool to think of.
I tell you what, we'll try it again at the end of the episode.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Anyway, so importantly, Francesca mentions that Kim called after the whole Heisenberg affair, after Saul Goodman was implicated and all that sort of stuff, and she asked if he was okay.
And so, Dragon, I don't know. This kind of leads to a little bit of a Rorschach test on my end about his reaction, where it's like, for me personally, I think that Kim, even making the action of reaching out, is as little as it was, is ultimately what doomed Jimmy, because it kind of set Gene back down the bad choice road, and it kind of like, like it kind of put his ass into high gear to get going on those schemes. And, so I don't know, man. It's like, and of course we do have that one bit where it's like, we'll get to it momentarily, where it's like, there's kind of an ambiguous phone call going on. So I really do think that at the end of the day, Gene is going to go pretty much off the rails because of Kim trying to contact him, or at least trying to see how he is,
Well, remember, she was calling for Francesca mainly, and then asked about Saul Goodman amidst that call. Now, whether that was her intent behind the call in the first place or not, it's unclear.
No, I don't think it was her intent at all. I don't think she ever wanted to get back to him, that she was even asking. But I'm just saying, just the mere act of reaching out is just, that's going to be enough for him to go kind of like into a manic tailspin, I think.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Because right now, Gene is absolutely a shell of a man, and he hears like a little flicker of, I could get everything back. And, that brings it, we have an abrupt goodbye for Francesca, which is likely the last we're ever going to hear from her.
Which is perfect. That's a perfect end to the character, I think.
Yep. So let's see. So anyway, he drives. Now tell me what your read on this bit is. Do you think he's driving and then he gets the idea to stop by a phone booth, or do you think he's already heading to the phone booth?
I think he probably gets the idea to stop at the phone booth. And like I said, I think him reaching out to Kim and, I honestly do think a big takeaway for me is that Kim does equal bad news, and that he should have listened to her as far as them being together is not a good thing.
Yeah, so he's calling. So we learn where Kim Wexler is. So she's in Titus.
Dragon, do you know where Kim Wexler is? Do you know where Kim Wexler is?
Well, literally, I was about to say the address, Tiki, but where?
Kim Wexler is in Florida.
I should have seen that coming, but yes.
That's the name of the state. All right, I'm done.
Yeah, so Kim Wexler is in Titusville, Florida, apparently working at Palm Coast Sprinklers.
So this floored me. I mean, it's like, this is like, again, I feel like this was a Ryan Johnson thing, Dragon. Ryan Johnson must have been behind this. The little Ryan Johnson fly, because everyone expected her to be in Omaha, right?
Yeah. Now the big speculation is that we established she is from Nebraska. Now there's a question of like, hey, did he pick Nebraska in the hopes of seeing her again? Like, I think you and everyone else speculated, but like, oh my God, like he assumedly knew from the beginning she was in Florida, and yet he went to Nebraska.
But of course, there is the whole very ambiguous. Like, why did that phone call send him into such a rage? We intentionally did not see the dialogue of the phone call.
So let's see. So here's my read on just the whole thing of the episode with this phone call and the fallout, particularly. So again, we have this unheard, almost lost in translation phone call with Kim Wexler, and he just destroys that phone booth. He's bashing the phone. He's kicking it out. He's destroying that phone booth. It did not go well. Either that or it went so well, he's just in a rage to destroy things, which I do not think is the case. So my read is, we saw him
I'm sorry, go ahead.
At the end of the last episode, we saw him literally hang up Saul Goodman. The guise and persona of Saul Goodman. We hung up the shirt, the colorful, loud shirt, despite it being black and white. And he walked away from it because, he has the capacity to do it, but he doesn't need to. So I think that phone call, the domino effect that happens here, is that he tries to revive Kim. If that phone call had gone well, he would have revived Jimmy McGill, but it didn't go well. So he goes back to chasing the remote feeling. He kind of goes back to zero. It goes back to one. It goes back to the proto Saul Goodman before Jimmy McGill.
He goes back to the pilot, which is kicking the trash can, which is very much what this action was mirroring to me.
Yeah, and essentially this episode is about him kind of with the scheme that Gene's pulling off. It's very much slipping Jimmy to a T, and like old school slipping Jimmy, like when he was hanging out with Marco. So
Mhm,
that's the thing.
mhm.
He's gone back to his Cicero days, way before he met Kim Wexler, but in a sense, he's still going as Victor with a K. So what he's essentially doing is he's trying to. It's essentially, in a sense, it's more or less okay. So he tried going back to Jimmy McGill, so then he went to kind of like the kind of the slipping Kimmy, but there's no Kim. So he's
Mhm,
pulling
mhm.
off kind of he's chasing the good old days.
Jeff is gonna have to be the Kim.
Sadly, so in a sad, so in a kid. Well, Ray Seahorn would have pulled off that sweater, though. She would have. No, but seriously, that's the thing. It's the fact that he's kind of starting from zero again, where he's Jimmy McGill to kind of the slipping Kimmy dynamic, only without the K. And I think ultimately that's going to lead to the full reemergence, or at least the payoff being Saul Goodman came back in the end, which is the tragedy if he can't escape
Oh,
the
I
cycle.
absolutely think we're pretty much already there at this point by the end of the episode.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Though. I like that it's like we built to that in stages, where again, like McGill to Slip and Jimmy to Saul Goodman, which is the natural
Mhm.
progression after we hung up the shirt, but he can't avoid it. He can't not go back to it. So it's the tragedy of these personas he's cultivated for himself. So that's the thing. But without Kim, there is no point, which leads to him again just trying to rekindle like the scammer he is. So basically, it's like him doing the scams is him trying to rekindle the memory of Kim Wexler because he's just so hurt. He's
It's
hurting so
essentially
much
kind of
right
like a
now.
chasing the dragon kind of thing. At least
Exactly,
that's how I read it.
but the dragon less being the scam, more being like the everything in his life going well, like it was for a brief bit when she and him were scamming or pulling off the ultimate con before Lala wrecked it all.
All right, so the next day we see Gene turning on the machinery that makes the Cinnabons, and Dragon, we have never seen him look more miserable at his Cinnabon job.
Yeah, I mean, what's so funny though? I gotta tell you, Better Call Saul made me want to eat Cinnabons, which I had done since like I forget, like probably since the fourth or fifth season. I've been doing the Cinnabon thing, but
Uh-huh.
regardless, it's so
They're
funny.
always in airports, Dragon. They're a go-to in airports.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. More of a mall Cinnabon guy, but yeah. So I'm literally like at the mall,
Mhm.
but I'll tell you the thing. It's like there's now there's kind of a complex field of emotions when I'm eating the Cinnabon because I'm always thinking of Address Unknown when I'm biting into a Cinnabon. With that, it's like there's kind of a sadness, there's a bittersweet deliciousness attached to it. There's just like, oh man, just now there's such a myriad of emotions, and like Cinnabon are kind of like a happy treat, but now there's it's all the
Oh
complexities.
my god.
It's fascinating. Anyway, yeah, so sad man making the Cinnabons. So ultimately, this leads him to visit Jeff, which again he swore he'd never do. So he visits Jeff, and he's getting all chatty with Marion. Again, she's got a computer with watching cat videos, which of course were very much the
So
rage.
I am, like I said, I am so convinced that Gene has just totally got Marion underestimated. He thinks like, oh, look at this sweet little old lady that I can just manipulate with the cat videos and everything. It's like America's Funniest Home Videos, but you get to be the host. And it's like he totally just thinks he has Marion wrapped around his finger, and he is so fucking wrong. And it is going to be such a mistake, and I'm hyped to see it go down.
I love just the little deep cut Easter egg that it's a Roomba, much like the whole rice and cigarette thing. So it's like the
Uh-huh.
Roomba kind of like making its little way in there. Anyway, yeah. So the point being, he's just like Marion is like the foot in the door excuse, which is going to bite him in the end. So he goes to Jeff, and they have like kind of share a drink in the garage, where essentially he charms Jeff back into the like, yeah, let's do it again. Forget what I said. We're doing it. We're gonna
I would
need
be
you.
so skeptical if I was Jeff.
Well, then again, Jeff, not the best judge. We've
He's
said
an
Jeff,
idiot.
yes, idiot cannot judge a character. He's basically again he's the next generation of skater punk,
Right.
only with a cab. He's the guy hitting people with the anyway. So point being, Jeff's taking the night shift, and they're gonna need barbiturates.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so here's the con. This is quite how clever was this con, man?
I really like the simplicity of it, Dragon. That's what I appreciate
I
about
just
it.
love that again. It's taking us back to zero with like the slipping Jimmy beginnings, like episode 10 of season 1, where like all the bar cons. I love that we're
You know
taking it
what's
back
scary
there.
about it is it feels like something that people could legitimately pull off pretty easily.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. So I gotta tell you though, if for anyone taking an Uber driver out there, I mean, this episode does absolutely give you a pause of never take the free waters you're offered.
Yeah, totally.
As tempting as they are, don't take them.
They're never tempting to me. You know why? Because they're always lukewarm.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, they would be Luke. Well, then they're in a cooler in this case, so these ones probably would be more tantalizing. But anyway, we're drifting off focus. Point being, so it's karaoke night. Well, seemingly it's karaoke night at a bar, and we have Gene singing Brandy. Now, of course, the karaoke being a reference to "Winner Takes It All" from the end of season 4.
Uh-huh. Do you think Schnauz is a Guardians of the Galaxy fan?
I mean, yeah, remember they have good taste, so I'd like to think so. But then again, they always have it's on brand with like a song of the '70s, which
Because I'm sorry, but this song is just forever tied to Guardians Volume 2 now for me.
well, no, agreed that it is Tiki, but by the same token, those '70s song, which is on brand for their pools for
Of course.
Better Call Saul. So I think it's coincidental, but then again, we've had MCU stars in Better Call Saul, or actually the MCU pulling Better Call Saul actors more accurately. Anyway, Tony Dalton and Michael Mandow.
Uh-huh.
All right. So point being, here's the con. So Gene has scoped out like the kind of the scummy kind of bar betters in the bar. Basically, the scummy guys at the bar who basically think they're getting one over an old genie boy. In this case, Alfred Hawthorne Hill, who is played by a familiar face, Devin Rattray, I think his name is. This guy,
where have you seen him before?
Yeah, you know him for two things very specifically, Tiki. He's a character actor. He pops up a number of things, but the two big things he's best known for, he's Buzz from Home Alone.
Okay, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like he looked familiar, but I couldn't quite place it.
But most recently, well, again, recently in quotes, it's been a few years, he was, Tinfoil Kevin in The Tick.
Oh my God, Tinfoil Kevin. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh my God.
Right? Yeah, it's Tinfoil Kevin.
I love The Tick. Why did that show get canceled? God damn
well,
it.
I think ultimately they make room for the boy, so it's a mixed bag.
Yeah, that's no excuse. They could do both.
I know they should be able to do both. I agree.
Yeah.
I concur. Regardless, so point being, the idea is he's kind of looking for the low again. He finds a low rent scammer in this Alfred guy, who basically is he's throwing all these kind of bar wagers to lull this guy into a false sense of security.
Uh-huh.
They have like the $100 bet, like, hey, your hand's close to the bill, but if I swipe it before, you're gonna have to buy it the next round. That's like that sort of thing. So this guy's like, like a kind of a rich guy who thinks he has the advantage, thinks he can outwit anybody. So he's looking for scumbags at a bar, essentially. And this guy's kind of a prick too, because he's like doing like the bets where he's kind of playing dirty, of like, hey, I won't take that matchbook from you by touching your body at all. But he lights him on fire, which is crazy.
That was just a dick move, dude.
That's what I'm saying. So
I would honestly kind of freak out if someone pulled that shit on me.
So that's the thing, though. Until the end of the episode, it's safe to assume justified in the selection of targets.
Right. It's almost kind of like a low key sort of like Dexter Morgan. Like, all right, he's a mark. He fits the code.
Exactly. Now, to be fair, Jimmy Go's always had this sort of thing in the selection of the marks. Never like an innocent person. Just usually like people like Ken Wins.
Right. Exactly.
All right. So
he's just such a great like personification of the kind of mark that they go after.
Anyway, so Victor with a K has shown this guy a good time, and he gets into a cab, and that cab driven by Jeff the cabbie, who offers the drunkard a water, and that water is doused with barbiturates, which are going to lull him to a deep sleep. And we reveal that Gene, as he walks the corner, he had this really cool bladder system worked up, where he has like a little tube down his sleeve, and he's got like a kind of a hot water, bottle, kind of like bladder thing, which basically took all the booze, and he just dumps it out. So he was sober as can be.
Yeah, that was very clever for sure.
Love it. I love that. So we drop the guy off, and then basically Jeff he gives the signal in kind of a coded way to his in quotes dispatch guy, and it's Buddy. They've only credited this guy as Buddy. They gave him a fake name last episode, so Jeff just friend does not really have a name. I just think they called him like Jeff's Buddy. So I think
I'm convinced his legal name is Buddy, like Buddy the Elf.
I'd like to think that personally, but that's the thing. We don't know. So
Or at
Buddy
least
here,
it's like a lifelong nickname or something.
sure. So Buddy here, he's walking a dog, so he can kind of like swoop by the place, not non-conspicuously. And Jeff, when he helps the guy through the door, he puts tape on the hinge so it cannot close, and he can go in there. And they pull the heist without knowing the guy's been heist. They stay while he's dead asleep. Take all the credit card information, all the documents, tax returns, everything they can find. Take photos of it, and use that information to presumably credit card fraud and like getting cash from the bank accounts and that sort of stuff.
Brilliant.
Yeah, quite clever. So again, it's quite the foolproof con, honestly.
Yeah, unless you get morals into the mix, but that's not going to happen, is it?
No, get out of here. So, and also the fact the guy has all his passwords and everything written down, which is like gold for them.
Dragon, you know what the worst example of the password being written down thing is for me?
When the password is in fact password.
No, but I was gonna say like the worst example of just like why are you making it so obvious, man? Come on. Do you remember Ben Mendelsohn in Ready Player One?
Yeah.
Where it's like they literally like hacked into his helmet because he had the password written on his chair.
Yeah, on like a sticky note on the chair.
Yeah. I'm like, come on, Ben Mendelsohn, come on. Anyways,
okay, so that's the con, but let's go back to the bad.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, this is great. Essentially the gist of this scene is kind of like the and Dragon, of course, we know how the interaction goes down, outside of, like as soon as Jesse says who's Lalo, Saul basically takes control of the situation right away. He's like, okay, what can I do for you, gentlemen? And it's basically a continuation of that, where he's essentially like pitching his services to them.
So this is exactly what I always hope to see in these sorts of scenes, Tiki, where it's basically, this is like, again, these are the stuff that you don't need. Like I said, we saw the meat of the scene in Breaking Bad, and it's not exactly, we're not retreading, we're not just like restaging and doing it over again. What we're doing is, like, okay, so this is kind of like, what if we had kind of like the mundane, again, through the Better Call Saul vein of like, okay, here's the mundane. Well, they have to get back from point A to point B. So how do they do that? What conversations would they logically have after that? Which was rather interesting.
And of course, okay. Jesse asking about Lalo, saying he hasn't heard of Lalo on the streets, even though he had heard of Tuco. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So also, I just love Schnau's just playing the dialogue just so great here. And of course, big thing we're kind of glazing over here. So we reveal our ski mask kidnappers to be Walter White and Jesse Pinkman. They're in rare form as ever, and oh god, the only, again, this is like the thing of like, well, Odenkirk's a little thinner than he was in Breaking Bad. Like
Jesse I was going to say, Aaron Paul has noticeably aged, but it's like, what are they going to do? There's literally nothing they can do about that. I would rather they just play it off like we don't care than like try and do like the Star Wars CGI bullshit.
I mean, you know what though? I'm just satisfied with the fact they're wearing hats. It's distracting enough. Like it covers it enough. Where it's like, okay, well,
honestly, I think it's more distracting with Aaron Paul just because he looks noticeably older. With Cranston, it's kind of just like, the only thing, it's like you said, it's like he's wearing the cap. It's like obviously he doesn't have like the shaved head under the cap, but. But I think it works. Well,
that's the thing. I mean, Walter White, it works perfect because he had that hat on during that scene. And
exactly.
It looks seamless. Yeah. I'm just saying Jesse's like a little thing where he's playing. He's all sounds like it doesn't matter because it's still Jesse Pinkman. He's still written like Jesse Pinkman. So it's
exactly right.
I'm just saying like if you're going for one, like that, and like Saul Goodman's. Oh, by the way, the nitpick I had at the end of 9, they fixed it. He did not have the pin on at the end of the day he meets Walter.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
But he has the pin on now. I mean, I know.
There we go. Hey, what do you know?
So he put that pin on later after when he went out for the day. He put that pin on.
That's great. That's actually a great touch.
Love it. Anyway, so but I said I love the writing here. Like everything I love about the Walter White character was represented here in this one scene. It could
Just
only,
we just get to see Walter White and Jesse be that old married couple one last time.
which I mean, which is what I love about them, especially in the
Yeah.
early seasons, which is so well represented here. I love that
And of
what this
course, this is like
does.
the ultimate kind of like foreshadow of like, oh, the RV's not working. We know what that's going to lead to.
Yeah, yeah, and I also love definitely some visual, a lot of visual references. Remember when we show the RV for the first time, we have all these like all the old familiar places, just kind of being loved with the camera, and then we have like there's the lawn chairs, there's the round bottom flask.
Dragon, I feel like this is kind of like Member Berries done right because
Yeah.
it's like all the stuff that we remember is there, but it's like it's not like we're calling attention to it, and it's not like Saul is literally, it's like I don't know. I feel like all the hey Memba stuff is purely for the sake of the plot, like him, asking about the Heisenberg stuff and the blue meth, and then it's like I feel like it's all just and like I said, I do think the big crux here is and why we are seeing these flashbacks now, especially when it comes to the last couple flashbacks we see in the episode, is this is Saul Goodman basically reaching a point of no return and getting in too deep right as we're seeing Gene get in too deep.
Well, also think about this. Think about this kind of layer to everything with Saul Goodman that we now know that we never had before, and going into Breaking Bad, like through this perspective, is that he's fundamentally he sees like kind of a ground up operation. He sees a by the bootstraps operation, which I think he respects on some level because that's how he viewed himself. But also, I think he's trying to fill the Kim Wexler slot. Perhaps he's looking for kind of a business partner to a degree.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but you're kind of right. And once again, it's kind of like with these terrible male influences like Jeffy and Walter White. It's like just not great replacements for Kim by any stretch.
Yeah, and exactly. So also what I'm saying too is I love that we have, again, if anyone has gone into Better Call Saul without seeing Breaking Bad, which there are a couple people like that, if you do, I love that you do have a good representation and an intrigue built. Like, who is this? This Walter White sounds fascinating to me. What is this guy's deal? It's like the ultimate sell of these characters.
Right.
Look at their dynamic, and he's dying. He's got cancer. What? Well, this guy's very interesting to me. But again, I tell you, man, I live for Cranston.
Oh, and of course, obviously, the cancer thing is like that's another thing that that comes back around thematically. So.
I know that's what I'm saying. I have a thing to say about that once we get to the payoff for that. But I love this. Like Walter White is to a T. Like no details. I said no details.
Right.
And the whole like, wait, what did you call it? Just the crystal ship. That's what I call it.
And then Jesse just being like, well, what about showing my face? I didn't want that detail.
Exactly. And I got to tell you, I just crack up. And you have just the whole like the 4 days out kind of setup of it all with the RV stalling, and then we show some love like the keys not being left in the ignition. Just being put on the counter, and just the magic, just all that's just very well represented. The whole like, I just love the whole like, see, you should have let me drive. No, we have the proper amount of gas. Like this is the Walter White I live for. This is why I love the character. Like,
it really just makes you want to go back and rewatch Breaking Bad. It really does.
I gave it the proper amount of gas. The only difference is we'd be sitting here and you'd be panicking.
It's almost kind of like one of those situations where if you were one of those people, like you were just saying, if you were one of those people that watched this without watching Breaking Bad, you're kind of like, oh man, these two characters are fascinating. If only there was a full show around them. Yeah. Oh, wait.
How lucky. Anyway, so the point being, I gotta tell you, how cozy did this scene feel to you? Because I love the magic of like this introspective scene where you don't get a whole lot, but it's just kind of the right amount is said, but in focus on the Saul Goodman character. He takes shotgun, Jesse has to sit in the middle, and they're just kind of stuck there for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It's great. It's great.
Just knowing the adventure that these three are going to go on. And I don't know, I just like that we kind of took a pause before all that happens to take it in. And then Jesse's asking about the Lalo thing, which is just a rare introspective moment for Saul Goodman. Like, again, knowing all the layers that built up to him at this point. It's really good stuff. Anyway, so the whole, like, look, I love the whole, like, the Laurel and Hardy vibe, but, not the Bickersons. Can we get this moving?
Yeah.
2 words, Jiffy Lube. So then we have the transition. Tiki, tell them about the transition.
Oh man, yeah, this kind of took my breath away when I saw it. Did it not you?
It did. It is the fact
Yeah,
that
so
we
the RV drives away, and we see the empty grave in the desert, and then the camera pans into the empty grave, and we see Gene in the grave, like black and white Gene in the grave, and the camera pans through the grave down into Gene in bed. Oh, it's so cool! It's so
It is.
cool.
That's what I'm saying. Everything about our Breaking Bad stuff. Again, it could have been. Plus, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure they shot on film for the Breaking Bad scenes.
Uh-huh.
Pretty sure because that's kind of what they did for. Obviously it's what they did for El Camino, but when they did the Quite a Ride scene, they shot it on film. So I like to think they're trying to maintain that look, which all of Breaking Bad was shot on film, not instead of digital.
Makes sense.
Anyway, so also I love like it's like some fun dialogue. The whole like, oh, my chiropractor, she adjusts everything. This is the classic skeezy Saul.
It kind of like goes back to like, because we've been so much in the head of Jimmy McGill. It's like we forget just how much of a scumbag Saul Goodman could be at points just with his dialogue. And you know what I mean? And now we realize that all that sexism really is kind of just like a front.
Yeah, again, he's making up for the loss of Kim. That's what he's
right. Exactly.
Also, just one last thing, we'll move on. Just the Schnauz's dialogue still on point. I think one of the best lines that we had here was like a classic Saul Goodman line that we never heard before. Just the whole. So, what are you guys like? It's like Mr. Softy. You bring drugs to all the little good boys and girls.
Oh my god.
just perfect as he's owning the scene and holding the flask.
Okay, now I want to see like a snow cone. Like a Breaking Bad themed snow cone ice cream truck, ice cream RV rolling through Albuquerque with like the blue meth colored snow cones.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. Full on. Yep, I love it.
Maybe just do that like the week of the Better Call Saul finale.
That would be so perfect.
Right. Snow cones, get your snow cones here.
All right, so we have
do not actually contain meth.
Can you imagine how many skeezy characters you'd have? Like if they watched Breaking Bad and they saw that RV and it'd be like, "Oh my god, snow cones! Buy all the snow cones now!"
Oh my god.
All right. Anyway, so we have so we're back from that. We have Gene buying. He awakens.
The lines are blurred, Dragon. The lines are blurred.
Yep. He buys the Swing Master, which is which is a modern version of the Chi Machine. So again, that's what I'm saying. We're built slowly but surely. Saul Goodman is returning piece by piece, and what we do is
he's coming back.
But I love this. I love how basically what we're doing is we see that like the kitschy trappings of Saul Goodman during the big scam montage. We see the scam going on, and we see the sad status quo that we saw at the top of the season, and at the end of our big Breaking Bad link up episode, where he's hiring hookers and prostitutes, and they're in the bed, and again, kind of like the gold toilet status quo, but in a more kind of a more modest setting. On a smaller scale.
And essentially what this is doing, for me at least, is like the mustache of Gene Takovic is like slowly becoming irrelevant. And it's like, because obviously like when we first see him in Gene mode, it's like we are seeing a man that has just been stripped of all his agency. And I like that visually. It's like he still has the mustache, but just based on the body language, he is becoming just more and more Saul Goodman. And you know what I mean? It's like we don't even need the ceremonial shaving of the mustache. It's like he is full on, like he has gone through a transformation throughout these past couple episodes.
Because we haven't mentioned it since the very first episode, and given the fact he is in this episode, we should probably note it here. Again, with Gene's look, very intentionally, I like to think, indicative of Walter White at the beginning of Breaking Bad with the mustache, and again a position of weakness. Again, with everything.
I'm glad you bring that up, because I do think that is another thing with like why we saw the Walter White cameo. Like I do think there are some distinct parallels that Jimmy is making in his mind between himself and Walter White as this episode is going on.
And I think he hates that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. That's why he is going to react as strongly as he does to the cancer thing.
Exactly. So we'll get into that momentarily. So point being, we're building up the. So we have this montage of seeing it go really successfully, then breaking in the dough.
I mean, Dragon, it's kind of just like we're at a point where it's like like Better Call Saul season 6 montage is fantastic. Water is wet. What more do you want to say?
I mean, this is kind of like an equivalent to
but seriously, it's really good. It's really good. It's but
this
I don't know.
montage.
The song choices continue to impress Dragon.
This montage specifically is quite indicative and reminiscent of a Crystal Blue Persuasion.
In a way, yeah, because it's kind of just like the hero getting his groove back and making a bunch of money and being successful and working with shady new characters.
And they're essentially
may or may not be neo-Nazis.
Okay, let's not get...
I don't know. Marion did say that Jeff had a past in Albuquerque.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know.
I'm just saying.
Point being, like, I would... Okay. Jeff,
theory that's been thrown out there.
Well, I think that's a crazy theory, but that's just
all right. Fair enough.
So Jeff and Buddy here, they're kind of becoming the new Huel and QB for him.
Anyway,
so
it's a very, very bad, very incompetent version of that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Like all the trust and security you had with Huel and QB just out the window, Dragon. Just out the window, just gone.
Hey Jeff, are you happy? Reasonably.
Oh God.
Hey buddy, you want to sleep on this money bed? Okay.
Oh man.
Anyway, so also they're giving burner phones. We're referencing our own show, but we're getting away with it because it's the last season.
You remember the burner phones?
All right.
Sorry.
Okay, so we have the businessman here. We have our finance guy played by the actor Kevin Sussman. Now Kevin Sussman from The Big Bang Theory, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. He's been in other things. I'm just saying that's I think the biggest role is kind of like the name role that he's had. He was Stuart from the comic book shop. But,
right. Okay, yeah, I thought he looked familiar. That makes sense.
I'm sure you've seen him in other things. I just can't call to mind what those other things are, really. But
right. Yeah.
Anyway, so he's playing really nice, like kind of a one episode. Well, he's probably going to be a 2 episodes. Let's be frank. But let's say a 1 episode role.
He might be in 3. This guy seems like he could be important given the circumstances.
So the fact of the matter is, this guy, to the observer, seems rather nice, and we get a conversation, between the guys here, and we have this. He has this conversation talking about how essentially lawyers are monsters, which of course kind of parallels to Saul Goodman, which is quite interesting. How basically finance guys and lawyers of such, like there are guys out there who essentially are monsters, which of course equates to absolutely kind of like Saul, the monster that is the lawyer Saul Goodman, and he takes this pill, and we reveal the pills are for cancer, which obviously big reminder of Walter White.
And so my read on pretty much everything that goes down on the episode going forward here, Dragon, before we kind of recap it, is that obviously anyone else would have a sympathetic reaction to this.
Yes.
And be like, oh, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't calm this dude. But Gene, I feel like, has an adverse reaction. And because of the trauma of Walter White and what he has done to him and how he has essentially just totally uprooted his life, I feel like it's a motivation for him to go even harder on this guy.
I agree. You know what I kind of read it as? So when it happened, there's a little bit of ambiguity because they are still having a kind of a chummy conversation. I was expecting, before it dawned on me, the whole Walter White thing, which we play on perfectly later on, is like, it's kind of in question, like, is there some sympathy for the cancer man? Initially I was like, okay, when he gets him in the cab, is he gonna say something to the cabbie, which is no, not this one.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was expecting too. Yeah.
But then we did not do that, so I was like, oh, no sympathy for him. Wow, that's like we're going.
And then the tables kind of turn by the end.
Now, yeah, and when the tables turn, essentially, I like to think he's going so hard against them because he's looking for closure against Walter White for that whole we're done.
And he just does not want to hear any sort of sympathy for cancer patients. Like that is not shit that he wants to hear, given what he has been through.
Which is a really great idea, and again, a really great.
I love it. I really do. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Because remember, the crippling thing with all of our characters in the Albuquerque verse ultimately is it's a personal motivation. It's a pride thing with Walter White very clearly, and then with Saul Goodman, it's like the things that they've dug into. Like, why is Kim Wexler the way she is? Well, again, it's the human emotion of she wants to be she wants to be loved, and she doesn't want to be alone. She doesn't want to alienate herself from her loved ones. And that's what I'm saying. Like, everyone has that. Chuck cannot be wrong. He cannot be seen as deficient. So like, everyone has like just that little personal kind of prideful motive. Like, it's the gray matter effect of like, we have our solutions here. It is not an end of the world thing. We have solved the show in 4 episodes. What do we do now?
Right. Exactly.
Well, again, it's the personal motive. It's like, I did this because I liked it. That sort of thing. All right, so okay, let's see. So then we cut back to Saul Goodman using the chi machine as Francesca's going over his docket, and then the
Dragon, to me, this might have been the coolest Breaking Bad scene of the episode, in spite of the fact that we've seen Mike throughout the series.
I gotta tell you, man, this how boss an entrance was this?
It was a fucking amazing entrance, Dragon. It really was.
I just love it. Like, we have Mike Ehrmantraut enter the Saul Goodman office again, which he hasn't done ever since Breaking Bad. And he's wearing sunglasses, and he's so.
But Dragon, this is like the pre-Walter White status quo with Saul and Mike, and we have not actually seen that before. So, to be honest with you, as fun as it was to see Walt and Jesse again, there wasn't a ton of actual story that we could take from that. It was more so just kind of like giving some shades of theme to what Gene's currently going through. But with this scene, I do think that we actually get a little bit more kind of like a peek behind the curtain of what was going on with Better Call Saul, with the Saul Goodman stuff with Mike.
Well, Walt and Jesse's scene fed into this scene. That's the difference.
Right,
That's
right.
the thing right there. They're all fed to this scene. So you're right, absolutely. So it's like Mike comes in. We have their dynamic, which is great, where Mike's doing a crossword puzzle. Like, hey, I can multitask.
Oh my God, I love it. Like, you are not going to talk to me on that thing.
And he brings up the very famous Lyndon Johnson did do this, by the way, kids. He's not just making this up. The whole, like, he would do the debrief while his briefs were well deed. While he's on the toilet.
Which he honestly just seems like such a fucking Logan Roy thing to do.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Logan Roy got it from LBJ.
Right.
So that's the thing. So he's just like, now this is fun. This is kind of this has to be like a meta Schnauz thing, because like Schnauz always has these jokes about how much of a tough guy Jonathan Banks is, where he would he walks up to people and threatens to punch him in the heart. Just the fact of like, I'm gonna go over there. I'm gonna kick your skull in. So you turn that. Either I walk out of here, I go over there and kick your skull in. So, but you know what's great about that too? This is where I read into things too much. There's a layer added to the Mike and Saul Goodman dynamic versus the Mike and Jimmy McGill dynamic, where it's a lot more soured now to a degree. Where like the romance is going, it's just kind of like the glibness of like, it's kind of like Mike measuring up to Saul Goodman in the sense of Mike was affected by what Mr. Vargas said to him, and basically in dealing with Saul Goodman, who again, that whole situation, with Lalo and everything, I'm sure, very much, he punctuated that Lalo situation. So Lalo is very much attached to Saul Goodman for him in so many respects. So when he now deals with Saul Goodman, he thinks about what Mr. Vargas said to him, saying, "You're just the thug. All you gangsters are the same. You're just the thug." So I think Mike doesn't take any joy in being a PI. He just he does the job to make money for his family, and that's as far as it goes. And he just does not want to put up with any no pleasantries with Saul Goodman. Just, I'm here to do the job. What is it?
But yeah, and you're right. I mean, because there did used to be sort of a camaraderie there, but I do think that the Howard Hamlin incident kind of soured all that.
Yeah. So let's see. So anyway, so he's going over basically his PI findings for the day, presumably for clients and cases that Saul Goodman's working on. Like there's kind of shady PI work of taking pictures of couples having an affair, the bus driver with the broken. It's funny, Tiki. This one scene, this essentially is what we all predicted the half-hour comedy version of Better Call Saul was.
Essentially, yes.
You walk in, you have the office full of wacky clients. Mike walks in with sunglasses, being all cool.
Right.
Like basically, he's like the Fonz. He walks in and he waves out like, "Lawyer, hey."
Oh God.
So of course, folks, it's also noted.
All we need is just like Huel and QB just bickering in the background.
Which, by the way, because we weren't able to do it last episode, Tiki, you know who we love in this show?
We love Mike.
We love him.
And yeah, and once again, Dragon, just to get it in there one last time, like you can imagine just how much Jonathan Banks is just ribbing Thomas Schnauz as he's directing this scene.
Because it's the last time, and I'm
Right,
sure
right,
it's
exactly.
just adorable. Anyway, plus, what's actually impactful here, if I recall, Tom Schnauz, he did have a cancer scare himself, which kind of makes this episode all the more impactful. Well, yeah, that's the thing. He was out. He was, I forget if he was out entirely.
No, you're right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
he was either out entirely for one season of Better Call Saul, or he only came into, instead of directing, he was only able to write one episode because of his, he was recovering from his health scare. Anyway, it was like a skin cancer thing, I believe. Regardless, it was either skin or prostate. I think it was skin cancer. Regardless, point being, though, is like that bus driver. He actually was hit by a bus, and like fantastic. That's good for me. We had some Latsky. Now, initially, I thought this was the In and Out guy, but I don't think it is. Just talking about some Latsky guy, second story guy. Anyways, then we go to, what about Heisenberg? None about Heisenberg. So he's a high school chemistry teacher. And there's a comic they did on the AMC website back in the day of Mike. Like, I think during the first seasons of Better Call Saul, they had some supplementary things where you got to see like a scene like this, where you got to see Mike Ehrmantraut go to the high school, and basically I was either go to the public library or the high school or somewhere, and he actually he made up the story and he found out exactly who Walter White was. You got to see him do that on the side as like a little side comic. So this is kind of the aftermath of that. So we have not repeated any of that sort of stuff, which is great. This is all fresh material. So he's going so he's a high school chemistry teacher. Pinkman was a student, and he has stage 3A cancer, which is, that's why he's doing all the coughing. And then we have Mike's input on the situation, which we always know. Famously, Mike Ehrmantraut was not Walter White's biggest supporter.
No, and Mike basically is just saying, stay away. I know when I see trouble, this guy is trouble. You do not want anything to do with him. He's hot. And Jimmy is basically just Saul. I'm sorry, 3 identities here. Saul is essentially just being like, you know what? I have a good feeling about it.
Yep, and I love the whole it's not even like an aggressive he's anti-Walt at this point. Which that judgment's going to come in later. Don't get me wrong, very personally, but I love these just kind of pointing out he's an amateur, which Saul Goodman saw for himself. They are kind of amateurs at that point. The ski mask and the cars breaking down everything.
Right.
Okay, let's see. So I see 170 pounds of clay to be molded,
which, as we know, that is absolutely not the case.
Yeah.
Maybe with Jesse, but Gus gets to mold that clay, not Saul. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Then we linger on the shot. How great is that shot linger?
Indeed. Speaking of shot lingers, Dragon, there was one thing I wanted to bring up, which was in regards to Marion. This is way back towards the start of the episode where Jimmy, where Gene, basically suggests to Jeff that they go into the garage. We do linger for just a second on Marion, and I do get the picture that there are these little subtle moments where Gene is kind of fucking up. We did get the, it is kind of like a blink and you miss it. We don't even know for sure if she registered it, but he did have a momentary slip up when she asked about Nippy at the end of last episode. And obviously at the end of this episode, we're going to have a pretty big thing on our hands with Carol Burnett. So I don't know. I'm saying these little subtle shots of her where it's where we just kind of linger on her for just a second as we cut away. I don't know. I feel like that's building to something.
Okay, real quick. I've been kind of saying it to myself in private just because it's just so his delivery really killed me on it.
Yeah.
Nippy! Just when he's mirroring the whole story, the dog jumped out the window and was yelling, Nippy! Just love the way he delivered that. Anyway, so I love Banks in the scene where we allude to Gus Fring, the man who shall not be named, and we learn that Gus Fring hasn't been made aware of the Walter White situation yet, which he will be.
I love the fact that Gus Fring is the man who shall not be named. That makes perfect sense as far as the vocabulary goes of how Saul and Mike would be referring to him.
I know, and I love that later on in that season, I guess Saul's going to wear Mike down. Eventually, he'll ask Gus Fring or vice versa. And I think the perfect schnauz kind of dialogue here on Mike was the Beta. How great was that Betamax thing that he said? Like,
oh yeah, oh that was perfect. That was perfect. Yeah,
basically comparing Walter White to Betamax. Let it go. Then we do the push in. Well, that's what I'm saying to you. This is the point of the whole episode.
Have you ever seen that Disney movie, Jimmy?
What?
Let It Go.
Oh, right. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Betamax. Yes.
With the two sisters, Jimmy, just let it go. I know it's a kids movie, but it's got values.
Won't be made for like 5 years at this point. But okay.
right.
Nostradamus, Mike.
Just let it go.
Okay. Anyway, so I love that we do the push in. What's great about the push in too is the fact that, again, it's the whole point of the episode, and that it's him unable to shake the feeling, and this is like the bad choice of all. This is the choice that's going to shape his destiny, which we artistically do in the last seconds of the episode. Just the fact
of course, yeah.
He's been given great advice that he should have listened to with Mike, and he's just making that ambitious call. He's trying to fill that Kim Wexler void, which is going to blow up in his face. So Gene gets a call while he's relaxing at home, which leads to a meeting at Jeffy's garage.
Jeffy's garage.
So they're having a very boisterous discussion that Marion takes.
And this is just like Dragon. This is like the ultimate telltale. Like, Marion will remember this. Marion will remember this. Marion will remember this.
Dogs barking, and Gene seems upset, which Gene has never been upset in her presence before.
This is not good at all. This, again, I've said it from the start of this podcast. I strongly feel that this is going to lead to the downfall of Gene.
It does stand to reason if she knows that Jeffy is falling in with a bad crowd in Albuquerque.
Exactly.
She can probably sense that, okay, loud discussions like this in the dead of night with dogs, this is probably not a good sign.
Right.
So,
Dragon, she is a sharp woman. The second that she senses that something is up with Gene, Gene is fucked. He's fucked.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
he doesn't know who he's dealing with. That is the lesson of the whole show, I think, honestly, in some regards.
That is the impression I'm getting, yes.
Yeah.
At the very least, even if she's not the direct cause of him getting caught, she'll be the nail in the coffin. Like, we need someone to identify him.
Right, exactly.
She'll be a nail in the coffin, if not the killing bullet. So let's see. So Buddy here, he had misgivings about robbing a guy with cancer because his father had like some form of cancer that he recognized the pills from. So he just couldn't bring himself to do it. And this is where he's like, hey, a guy with cancer can be an a-hole. Listen to me from experience.
Yeah, this is where his trauma with Walter White just comes boiling to the surface.
So ultimately, again, he makes a call out of spite. Basically a spite call in a con. Never a good call. Never a good idea. Like doing something out of spite. Like, no, we know it's a risk that he could wake up any second. Now we're going to go back anyway and do this. Right. And he's promising it's going to be 5. This is like him as Walter White at the top of season 5. Just the whole, like, it's done because I said so. That whole thing. So they're heading on back, and Jeffy is siding with him because, again, he's looking at him like a Paul Bunyan role model type. So he's kind of siding with him, and we fire Buddy, which I'm sure is also maybe going to backfire.
That is absolutely going to come back to haunt him for sure. Just how angry and malicious he did that, and honestly, I feel like if he just took him off of like the one job, like, all right, you know what, you're not on this job, but but the fact that he drilled it home, like, you are fired, fuck you, that is absolutely, that is not a good way to handle the situation.
Do you think he's going to call the cops on him?
Oh, I absolutely think that's a possibility for sure.
All right. So let's see. So again, that's the thing. Ultimately, this episode, Saul Goodman reflecting on Breaking Bad, and he's basically Walter White and this man with cancer is a reminder of those choices and the sad payoff of him being mad at himself for all of this, and for and basically Kim Wexler. I think ultimately on that phone call, the other end of that phone call was Kim Wexler not approving of how far he let things go with Walter White. That's what I think the phone call consisted of. I think she had a lot of love for Saul Goodman in the infancy, but knowing what became of him, I think him reaching out to her and the whole, like, all the business and all the just everything he got involved with, I think she utterly rejected that, and that really hurt his feelings, and that's why he's gone down this downward spiral. So that's what I think has happened. I think particularly that's why right now a cancer man coming in, walking back into the frame is really setting him off with all this. He's overcompensating. So let's see. So we anyway, so yeah, so we're going back to the house, and also we have like the whole, remember, keep your mouth shut.
Uh-huh.
Just, kind of great line there. Anyway, so they're driving back in the cab, and Jeff is reminding of like all the risks that they're walking into here. And I love that in the shots we mirror how he met Jeff in the first place, like the dangling air freshener in the mirror shot. But now Jeff has worried eyes instead of intimidating eyes of recognition. That's great. And we set up the next episode. We got 20 minutes on the clock. And he says, I'll be fine. And we intercut this awesomely with Saul Goodman making the bad choice, him walking to that high school, about to make his entrance and make the Godfather parable to Walter White.
Uh-huh.
And ultimately, he's walking to that school, and he breaks the glass on the house. He breaks the glass on the house as is, that's where we'll end up. Where he's making a very reckless move. He breaks the glass, a man of making a move out of desperation.
All right. In Dragon, I actually have, like, I'm not 100% sure that this is accurate, but would you like to know the rumored title for the next episode?
What is the rumored title for the episode?
Waterworks.
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 Huh. Let's see. Waterworks. Well, oh, I know what this is.
What?
It's the sprinkler thing. It's gonna be the Kim Wexler episode.
Oh, possibly.
Think about it. If the episode is called Waterworks, she works at a sprinkler company. That has to be then. Think about it.
That's true. That's true.
They're probably going to intercut things with Kim Wexler. Now, here's the question. Let me ask you this. I'm thinking black and white stuff will be kind of like him, the direct
maybe
aftermath.
We'll see the other side of the conversation from her perspective.
Yes, but let me ask you this. Do you think they go as far as to, in color, we see what Kim Wexler has done all this time, or do you think it's just an all black and white episode? That's the thing. Right now,
honestly, because we saw Francesca scenes in black and white, I don't see why they'd break that with Kim.
Well, that's true, Tiki. What I'm saying is, if the majority of the episode is like, do you think it'll be like I'm thinking the Gene story is going to be the B story, and the Kim story is going to be the A story. Now the question is, would the Kim story like be the color section, like showing what happened after she left Jimmy up to that
possibly
point?
Yeah.
But so that's the thing. Like, do you think?
But honestly, Dragon, at this point, it's like we just don't know. Like, they could pull anything on us at this point.
I know that's the thing. We just simply we don't know. But that's the thing, though. I mean, you want to see the other side of the phone call, which would necessitate black and white, though. Which
I would think at the very least we're going to see the other side of the phone call. At the very least.
I mean, minimum. And again, I just wonder if I mean, again, in theory, there's nothing saying they couldn't juxtapose these two while still being in black and white. It just usually separates better, like they did in this episode, like the past and present things, so the folks can keep track of it. But I'm just saying, if we have like a modern day, like, okay, this is Kim, like on the day she gets the phone call, so we check in with her status quo, and flip side, here's what Jimmy's doing, here's what Gene's doing.
Right.
That's probably the simplest way they do it. But then again, I have no idea what they're going to do. But again, I'm thinking if the episode's called Waterworks, it's going to be the Kim Wexler episode. We're going to check in with Kim, and then we're going to have our finale be wherever the heck this crazy ride takes us. It's going to be.
I mean, and of course, we did see the cop car at the with the teaser, which at this point, with how they've been doing the teasers, that could mean anything.
It could be. Yeah.
It could literally be like an exterior shot that has nothing to do with anything else.
Oh yeah.
All right.
That's I guess final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I don't think this is like the best episode of the season or anything like that.
Well, you swore off that.
I think it is. I certainly think it is a very satisfying kind of conclusion to all the Breaking Bad stuff, and it's about as good as we could have got it. Because I think the thing with the Breaking Bad stuff that was always in danger is like, why are we needing to see it? And I think for this situation, I think tying it into the cancer, tying it into the bad choice road of it all, just thematically it was very rich. I thought it was very rich the way they did it, even though we didn't really learn anything that we didn't already know. I think what the episode did really well was kind of like getting us back into Saul's headspace in regards to Walter White. And so on that merit alone, I think it's a very successful episode.
Yeah, this is an episode where we close the loop, presumably for a two-parter finale. Which, I mean, then again, it might be more focused. Ultimately, we have 2 episodes left, so it's going to be maybe kind of like a huge event that will build up to the finale. So it's kind of like a two-parter in a sense. We see the sad destiny of Saul Goodman, to take shape through our usage of the Breaking Bad stuff and kind of where it all led to, which kind of with our present situation of like, Gene's kind of on a self-destructive path right now, just like unable to escape the cyclical nature of Jimmy McGill to Saul Goodman. And this is kind of like the great finales, like Bates Motel, for example. Like, I love how we circle back to so many elements of like season 1 and recontextualizing them as we go forward, which I think we did really well, really effectively here. Again, we didn't take the episode title lightly. We made the most of our Breaking Bad stuff without it getting in the way of like, no, this is not an episode of Breaking Bad. This is still an episode of Better Call Saul, and what that means.
Totally,
So
totally.
it's wonderful. It's full circle, and again, Tom Schnauz again, just one last time, just blowing us away, man. Just did an excellent job. It was a great episode.
All right, Dragon, I'm going to go ahead and try. Like, don't expect anything, but I'm going to try and.
I'm not expecting anything. I'm
going to try and call Oakley one more time. Oh my God.
Thank you for contacting Associates. I'm William Oakley. You can call me Bill. And I understand that every criminal charge, no matter how petty, must be handled with the utmost care. Having served as a Albuquerque Deputy District Attorney for over a decade, I'm uniquely qualified to defend my clients against a wide range of prosecutorial tactics. I have a proven track record with hundreds of wins in cases spanning DWIs, personal injury, assault, theft, and more. At the tone, please leave your information and a brief description of your charges, and I will call you back within 24 hours. Remember, trust experience. Trust Oakley. I look forward to serving your legal needs.
Why weren't you available when we needed you, Bill?
What? Darn you, Bill, and your snack breaks and your vending machine woes.
Seriously, how weird is that?
Right? I'm not crazy. That was the machine.
No, yeah.
It was the same
that was
number.
Just odd.
I don't get it.
It's not like I didn't even like re-enter the numbers in my phone. I just pressed redial.
I know. I don't get it.
Oh man.
Why?
Anyways, all right,
You
all right.
embarrassed
Bring
me
us
in
out,
front of
Dragon.
them,
Bring
Bill. You embarrassed me in front of them.
Oh God.
All
All right.
Remember, kids, when you get that phone call and they actually pick up, make it count. Better Call Saul, not Oakley. Saul Goodman & Associates is the one-stop shop for all your legal needs.
And with that, we are adjourned.
We could totally be lawyers.
Totally.
I put the right amount of gas in there. It gave it just the right amount of gas.
Bill!